How's it going? I'm Dave Ferry. I'm here to talk about my book, Over Here, Over There, Over. I never expected I'd be sitting next to a big picture of me naked when I designed the cover, but what can you do? But anyway, I've got some notes. I'll try not to look at them all the time, but my memory's not that great, and I'm a little bit nervous. So, the book basically tells the story of my relationship with my ex-girlfriend Maria, who's on the cover there with me. She's American, but she was living in St Andrews when I met her, which is kind of north of Edinburgh, if no one's been before. Pretty small place. I found it really boring, but never mind that. But we'd been seeing each other for a few months, and it came time for her employers in the UK to renew her kind of work permit, which they decided not to do, so she had to move back to America. And about a week after she moved back, I went to visit her there, flew over to the States. So this book's basically about our relationship in total, and also me kind of exploring America, I guess. It was the first time I'd been there as an adult, and it was kind of a very strange country, but quite interesting as well. So I mean, yeah, we met in November 2015, I think it was. And at that point, it'd been about 6 months since I finished my second photo book. This is my third one. And I'd done some zines before that as well. But I'd been kind of looking for a new project to work on when I finished my second book. But I don't know, I couldn't really think of anything, couldn't find anything. And then I decided, there's a book by a photographer called Ed van der Elsken called Love on the Left Bank. It's the cover there. And I kind of wanted, it's like a fictional romance, I guess, set in Paris in the 1950s or 60s, I think. And I kind of decided I wanted to do something that was kind of inspired by that. So I kind of wanted to do like a fictional romance kind of book, which would use, I'd never really used text before, so I wanted to use text and kind of make it work with the photos and tell a story. But I don't know, I couldn't really seem to make a start on it, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to get some friends to act for me, or if I just wanted to meet people who were already lovers that would make it easier, or if I should hire models or actors or something. I couldn't really decide what to do or how to start. So I was still trying to kind of figure it out when I arrived at Maria's flat in the States and kind of realized it might be interesting to make a book about our own relationship, and asked if she would be okay with that, and she said she would love the idea. So I kind of just started writing things down and taking photos that I thought would be useful for the book or interesting. There's a couple of extra photos. Here's a photo of, there's Ed van der Elsken there with his girlfriend or wife or whatever. It's a kind of similar photo to my one, I guess. There's a photo from his book there. So yeah, I decided that I would make a book about a relationship. So I decided I'd kind of write in a kind of diary style text to go along with the photos. But really it wasn't until I got home and left Maria in America that I really started to sit down and properly write things. And I sat down, I mean, I guess I needed some distance from the relationship maybe, or just from her, I don't know. But I sat down for weeks and weeks just writing things down that I could remember, everything that I could remember about our relationship. Didn't even look at the photos that I'd taken or anything, it was just writing stuff down, like little notes. Didn't matter how small it was or how insignificant it seemed, just write down anything I could remember. So yeah, it was quite difficult emotionally, obviously, just going through the whole relationship. We were still kind of seeing each other at that point, but I mean, long distance, I don't think it works. So I don't know, we kind of just petered out and we agreed, we should just start seeing other people. But it was quite difficult emotionally to go back through the whole relationship and think about everything that happened and talk kind of through it with her and make sure, everything I was saying she agreed with and stuff like that. So I guess I'll have to talk about the cover for a bit. I mean, for me, the first stage of a book is kind of thinking about the title and the cover. I can't really start working on the photos or the layout or anything until I have the cover and the title kind of in my mind, even just a general idea of what it's going to look like. So I mean, I usually have like some ideas floating around for a couple of weeks before I decide on the title or the cover especially. I mean, the cover can change, but just to get a rough idea of what it's going to be. But once I have the title in my head, it doesn't change. Once it's kind of set in stone once I decide on it. So I mean, yeah, I guess the cover of the book, I kind of wanted it to reference the American flag a little bit with the red, white, and blue, but kind of subtly. I tried a few more cheesy, more obvious versions, I guess, but I wanted to make it a little bit more subtle. And I was going to put a portrait of Maria on the cover originally, but then, I don't know, there's a few photos of her naked in the book. There's a couple of me as well nude in the book. but I felt like if we were both naked on the cover, it would at least even things out a little bit more, because there's only like 2 photos of me naked in the book and a few of her, so I kind of wanted to balance out a little bit. Plus, I kind of wanted to get a reaction out of people and maybe have a sensational cover, which backfired quite a lot, to be honest. A lot of my friends didn't want to buy the book or even look at it because I'm naked on the cover. I still don't think any of my family have looked at it, and I don't intend to. I don't intend to show them it either, to be honest. My sister, I had a launch down at Good Press. My sister came and then left as soon as it began. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was, to be fair, there's been a lot of people talking about the cover, which is good and bad, I guess. And I remember I went back home for Christmas, and a friend of mine back home, we all went to the pub on Christmas Eve, and he'd asked for a copy of the book, so I brought it along. And then there was all my high school pals there, and then he started passing it around, and everyone in the pub was talking about my book just because of the cover, basically, which was kind of fun, I guess. And if I'd taken another photo book that I'd done to the pub, no one would have cared. So it was kind of interesting to get people talking about it that wouldn't normally care about photo books. So that was kind of nice, I guess. Okay. I don't even know what I'm talking about in the next bit. All right. In terms of kind of layout and style of the book, there's a German film director called Wim Wenders. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Paris, Texas, or some of his other films. He has a book called Once, where he's basically, he starts kind of little stories where it says once, and then he tells you like a little story, and he has some pictures to go with it, and it's all about his travels through America and Australia and Europe. And it's a really interesting book because it's almost like little short films. There's loads of like little stories in the book, and I really love the kind of layout where you have the text and the photographs. And I think there's another one here. And it's just a really nice book. I enjoyed it a lot. And then there's another book by a guy called Thomas Roma. It's called The Waters of Our Time. He's an American photographer who he wrote a book, there's a book that he did with his son. So his son wrote all the text for the book, and all Thomas Roma's photographs are used in the book. And it's kind of like a fictional story of like an old lady in Brooklyn who's lived there all her life. And it's just a kind of, the photos and the text, they're not really related all that much, but it's kind of interesting. And I really like the layout of the book, how the pictures are kind of all different sizes and all over the place, and the text is kind of in between them. So I like that a lot. And I kind of decided, I'll go back to this one actually for a bit. I decided that every double page spread should have at least one photograph. So that, as I said before, most of my books didn't have any text in them before that. And I kind of wanted people to, if they've read the story in the book, I kind of wanted them to go back and read the book again, but just look at the photographs. So I kept like every double page spread has at least one photograph on it, so that it's still, you don't have to read the text if you don't want to, or if you've already read it. It's still kind of interesting to flick through it again. And when it came to actually putting the book together, it seemed like the best way would be to work through it chronologically. So start at the beginning and end at the end. It seemed the most logical solution, and I couldn't really think of any other way of doing it. So I'd go through the things that I'd written down months and months before about our relationship, and kind of go back to the beginning from our very first date and just go through everything that kind of corresponded with our relationship. I left out some things, which partly it was because I didn't have any photos to go with them. So I had to kind of go through all the memories that I'd written down and just see which ones would work in the book, which ones had photos to go along with them. Or which ones are just boring. Because I was really, all through the book, I was really worried that the story would just be boring and that no one would care. And that was kind of my biggest fear. Photos, I'd done like 2 photo books before, so I kind of knew it would at least be a wee bit interesting photographically. But I was really worried that the story would just be really boring and no one would give a shit. But I think, I'll just go into this one for a bit. I think this is probably, in terms of my books, this is probably the one that's, the photographs probably aren't as good or interesting as the previous 2 books, if I'm honest. But it's a more cohesive book, and it actually tells a story, whereas the other 2 are just books of photos, really. They're both through there. They're nice enough, but I don't know. This one's actually properly telling a story, and it all kind of works together, and for me that's more interesting, but even though the photographs maybe aren't as interesting as the ones I did before. But yeah, just see where I'm at. Also, like my previous 2 books, the most difficult part was deciding kind of which photographs to leave in the book and which to kind of throw out. Because obviously all the photographers will know you'll have thousands of photographs to go through and pick which ones are in the book. And I probably could have edited it better, as Frank said. But that was the most difficult part of those books, was picking which photos to be in the book and which to be out of it. But in this one, it was the most difficult part was deciding which kind of memories or moments in our relationship I should include. I mean, the photographs kind of came themselves after I decided which things I was going to write down. But that was like the most difficult part, trying to decide which parts of our relationship I should include and which I should leave out. And yeah, I don't know. But I went through it all with Maria, and then she came over to Scotland in July last year, I think it was, for a week. And I'd printed the book. I'd originally planned to print it through a print-on-demand service like Blurb or Lulu, where it's like an internet service. You just upload the files and they print it for you and send it to you. But I tried that with Lulu, and it was all right, but the quality just wasn't good enough for me to sell, I didn't think. I mean, it was quite cheap, but I didn't feel the paper was too thin and the printing was crap. I didn't like it. But I mean, try Lulu if you want, but for me it didn't work. But I did have a copy of it to kind of show her when she came over to Glasgow in Scotland, which was good. I mean, I kept sending her, I made PDF dummies all the way through the book process, and I sent her copies of the PDFs just to make sure that she was okay with everything. And thankfully she was great with it. She didn't really ask me to change anything, which is good. It was pretty helpful. I mean, people have told me I'm brave for having myself naked on the cover, but I mean, I think she's really a lot braver than I am to let someone else take photos of her and show them in a book like that. It's very personal. But yeah, thankfully she was all right with everything, and I sent her a couple of books after it was printed, and she loved them, so it's pretty good. But eventually I sent the book to get printed by XYZ, same as you, and Sarah does as well, who are brilliant. They're pretty cheap. I don't know whereabouts, is it London they're based, or is it just outside? Oh, I don't know. England somewhere, I don't know. But I mean, they were great. They sent me a couple of dummies through. The only thing I don't like is the cover gets warped a little and sticks out a little bit. But other than that, it's perfect. The printing's great. Everything's straight. Yeah, it's really good. And I'll probably use them again if I do another book, which I probably will, to be honest. I mean, I launched, the second book I did, I launched in at Good Press, which is just down the road there. I had a launch, it went pretty well, and lots of my friends came and had a good night. And then I had a launch for this book as well in the same place. It went less well, possibly because I'm naked on the cover and no one wanted to see it. I mean, some people came, but not as many. I didn't sell as many at the launch either. Although there was one woman from, her husband lives in Bahrain, where nudity is banned, I guess, or supposedly banned. So she bought her husband's a photographer though, and she bought a book for him, but she had to go over with it and hide it inside another book. She picked a really boring book to hide it inside so that no one at the airport would open it. But I think she managed to get it over to him, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, I only sell it in Good Press and here. I should probably sell it online, but I'm just lazy, to be honest. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, I kind of want to send it to a few publishers maybe, but I mean, I would love to get it printed with Stidle or Mac or someone like that, but it seems unlikely. And there's a lot of kind of vanity publishing seems to be going around just now, where you have to pay a shitload of money to the publisher, and you do most of the work, and they just give you some books back, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do that. So I self-published it myself, which, as Mads says, is sometimes not the best, but it can be a pain in the ass, especially if you want to distribute a book or get it and sell in different shops, and then collecting the money as well. So I think I printed it in an edition of 100 copies, and I think, as long as I break even, it's pretty much the hope. I broke even with the last two books, so hopefully this one will be the same as well, I guess. But I mean, obviously the publisher would be great to have their distribution network. Maybe I wouldn't make any money, or maybe it would cost me a lot of money, but at least it would get more bookshops and more online reviews and stuff like that. Although I don't really know if they matter, but who cares? It would be nice to get out there and did lots of people, whereas these ones have just been mostly in Glasgow and my friends and stuff like that, which is also fine. But I make them really affordable. My books are always £10, or have been so far, just because I want people who necessarily wouldn't care or even know about photo books to buy one or take a chance on one, and maybe they'll enjoy it and start getting into photo books and make their own. Maybe not, but I just like making them affordable, I guess. I think that's pretty much everything. I've got any more photos. I've got these two photos. So these are all taken in America from the roof of car parks. And I went during the day and took photos from the roof, and then I went back, I think it was actually a couple of days later, at night time. But it kind of amazed me when I was putting the book together that the viewpoints are pretty much all the same. I didn't use a tripod or anything, it's all just dumb luck. But I mean, the viewpoints are all pretty much the same, but yeah, I don't know, it's all just lucky. So when it comes together I don't know, maybe it was in the back of my mind when I was taking the photos, but when it came to actually putting the book together, it just kind of worked out nice. But I think that's pretty much it. And if you've got any questions, you can ask afterwards, I guess.